strawberrykids.org. The American Cancer Society presents the Santa Cruz Valley Relay for Life starting at 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 18th, and going all the way till 9 a.m. on Sunday, May 19th. It's taking place at Central Park, and it's an event dedicated to helping communities attack cancer. We will be there all weekend, so swing by the KHTS booth, say what up, and participate. Again, the American Cancer Society presents the Relay for Life all weekend long at Central Park. To get involved, to donate, or just for more information, go to scvrelay.org.
Strawberry lovers unite at the 36th Anniversary California Strawberry Festival, May 18th and 19th in Oxnard. Ever tried strawberry pizza or strawberry beer? Join the celebration on our expanded grounds with 50 food booths, concerts, rides, arts and crafts, and more. Admission is just $12 for adults and $5 for kids, with proceeds benefiting local charities. Get tickets now at castrawberryfestival.org to the California Strawberry Festival, May 18th and 19th.
Hey, it's Aaron Del Torre taking a look at today's weather forecast. Clear skies all day long, daytime temps in the mid-70s, and overnight lows dropping down to the lower 50s. Pretty much an identical day tomorrow, but rain in the forecast on Sunday. Don't miss your chance to see country music star Sarah Evans at the Canyon Club in the Valencia Town Center on Tuesday, June 4th. Grab your tickets while you can at Ticketmaster.
KHTS, your hometown station.
Welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
All right, if you're not bobbing your head to that intro, you got no soul. Welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. Today we're live in the KHTS studio in beautiful downtown Newhall, California, and I'm hanging out with my producer of the show, Mr. Andrew Delgado. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I think that this show's appropriate to have you on this show.
Oh, all right.
It's all about life coaching, in case you haven't figured it out, and how to create maximum value for yourself, either from a life coach or from the simple willingness just to be open to all possibilities. Whether you agree, your job's not to agree with any type of professional that's there to help you. Your job is to try to figure out how to stay open to the possibility. Once you close your mind and have fixated on, no, it's not that way, or I can't see it that way, then you have a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset does not create growth. You always got to be open-minded, be open and willing to see it like that, either at a later time, hopefully in the moment, but either at a later time or sometime in your life. If you can see it a new way, you have a new breakthrough, a new awareness, and then you're able to create more effective results for yourself. The series is called Helping You Reach Your Full Potential, and today we're talking about the 15 things that women want from their men in their lives.
Okay.
And you're excited for this one?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because I get to learn, right? You can never stop learning of how to be more effective in your relationships from the men perspective, right? Like, we grow up as men and we have certain experiences as men. We create conditions, rules, belief systems that's all geared up towards our survival and helping us either attain certain things that we want or get. The problem with that is when we're unaware of some of those rules and some of those beliefs, they can turn into our rackets. Rackets meaning the games that we play to try to get things from other people. And if we bring those rackets into our relationships, then we're a racketeer in our relationships. We become narcissistic. We say certain things just to get what we want. We play games. And women, your job is to be mindful of the games that men play that they might either be unaware of, unconscious of, or maybe they are conscious of it. And your job is to try to figure out how to identify those rackets, those games, point them out, and then be loving enough to help your man understand that that's what they're doing, and then walk them through the process so that we, both men and women, surrender our games and the rackets so we can be freed up to be in relationships and create some extraordinary experiences. How does that sound?
All right, I'm on board. What do we got? 15?
All right, 15. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them, but we're going to do our best. First thing that jumped out right at me off the page is women don't need partners who invest all of their energy in trying to prove how strong, manly, masculine, macho, or heroic they are.
Yeah, I laugh at that when I see those men out there, because why, like, those machismo guys, the over the top guys, like I'm not that way, like fighting, like, okay, I'm easy to brush it off, but I know those guys that you bump them or you say something or whatever the situation is, and they go to 100 and want to fight or do whatever, and they're like, why'd you do it? Oh, because my girl's right here. Like, no, they don't really want that. Well, I assume they don't really want that person to fight and be that guy, that over the top.
Yeah, well,
manly guy.
according to the study, most women, have shared that they don't want their boyfriends or husbands to try to be that macho guy. And I'm sure there's some women in their car going, no, that's exactly what I want. And I think that every woman has this part of them that they want to feel safe. They want to feel secure. They want to know that their man can take care of them or their family when the time comes. But they don't need you to be puffing your chest out all the time and become that guy.
Yeah, don't be super aggressive all the time.
Yeah, don't be that egoic guy who projects this macho, masculine, I'm strong. Because what can happen very easily is you start to believe you're that guy. And then it's very difficult for you to bring the walls down to be vulnerable or to connect or to have deep, meaningful conversations. And I believe that most women want that. They want to be in a relationship with someone who can talk about stuff, that can be a space to hear you and to understand you and to know, to feel validated. And you won't be able to access that part of you if you got this wall up that you're this manly man and I don't cry and all of the rackets that come with that projection, correct?
Yeah, and with that projection, I can see that you put up those walls and people try to, get over those walls, but you won't let them. So you project and have that perception of, don't even ask me of how I'm feeling because you already know, or things like that. That's how I see that they will hurt like that, because then I'm sure they want to, but they put up this front for so long or acted this aggressive for so long that no one's even willing or saying like, oh, I didn't even know you can be that way.
Yeah. And then, I've noticed a lot of times when I coach couples, the couples that will be honest with me after a while and share, like the women will share, you know what, that guy, when I was younger, I was attracted to that guy, the macho, the strong, the confident swagger guy. Like I was attracted to that. Then after we got married, 10 years, 15 years down the road, I start growing and evolving and becoming more enlightened or more aware, more conscious. And then I realize what a racket that is and that maybe I don't like that anymore. And this is how people can outgrow each other, because one person evolves and the other doesn't. You're still a 50-year-old man still walking around puffed up and still being that guy that's not really authentically you, but yet you're wondering why your wife is saying, something. I want you to be different. And that's how people can outgrow each other, because one can wake up and realize that they want to keep growing and evolving, and they outgrow those rackets. They outgrow that image, that projection of themselves, and start to find the authentic self in them. They start to find the confident, assured, self-aware person. Meanwhile, the other person still stays stuck in that 15-year-old bravado, I got everything under control type of a mentality, and then we just kind of drift off and separate from each other.
But how is it? You say growing apart or going faster than one another. When do you say, "Hey, sweetheart, like I noticed you're like this, and I'm growing, and I noticed," or doing trainings and things like that? Do you invite them to do it? And what if they say no? Then...
That's a great. I love that question. I'm so glad you asked that, because I had to go through that process myself. When I had my first awakening at 23, I got an awareness and a consciousness of how arrogant I was at 23, how stubborn I was, how guarded and protected I was. My personality style was more of a controlling style person. And when I saw that guy, I got disgusted. And I realized that that's not who I really am deep down inside in the core. Deep down inside, I'm a loving, caring, a person who wants you to figure out who you are, and I don't need to be jealous, and I don't need to try to control you. So once I realized that and saw that, I decided I want to now work on myself. I wanted to go and discover that authentic guy who's deep down inside there. When I did that, I knew inherently if I go down that path and continue to grow, I'm going to outgrow my wife. So what I had to do was I had to get vulnerable enough and have enough conversations with her where I had to enroll her into seeing the value of following her own road of discovery and growth while I go down my road. But we had to be growing together. Now, one of you can grow a little faster, but as long as you're keeping pace with each other. If one of you outgrows to a certain point where the pace gets so far, you hit a certain point, and every couple has a different stride length.
Right.
But once you get to a certain point where you go past that capacity, it's very hard to come back. And then this person who's outgrowing ends up dragging the one who doesn't want to grow or is not growing fast, not fast enough, because I don't want it to sound like one's faster than the other, but it just becomes to a point where you just outgrow each other. And it happens all the time. It's not an illusion. It's a phenomenon. When someone awakens and wants to improve themselves and get better, your partner has to be going along with you. And then the capacity of the person that's in front has to be a big enough capacity to let this person grow at their pace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I've seen that happen countless of times with couples, and then you've been together even so long, then you're asked what happened, and it's just that simple fact that one person was just growing at a pace that outgrew or had that distance so far enough where it grew to we just can't be together.
Yeah. And it's funny because some couples and usually couples, when they come to me, sometimes they'll come together. Most of the time one will come. So there's the husband by himself and then want the wife to like partner up and start that process together, or the wife will come. And I always tell them there's good news and bad news. The good news is you've awoken, you realize you want more, you realize that you have a lot more growing to do. Now the bad news is that you have to figure out how to get your partner along with you on his own journey. Yeah. And I'm willing to roll with you and try to help facilitate that, but that doesn't mean just because you've decided to go head down that journey that he's going to want that for himself. At some point it gets kind of like a do or die there, where it's like, I really love you and you mean so much to me that I don't want to lose you. I'm willing to look at myself and I'm willing to grow and put some effort into it. And usually that's enough for them to kind of go down the road together and embark on that journey together. But it's a beautiful journey if you can figure out how to get your partner and keep yourself moving forward like that.
All right.
The next one is traits of moral integrity. And number one is open communication. So women are saying we want open communication. They say open communication that occurs regularly and tactfully is essential. So we want you to communicate with us on a regular basis, and we want to have a dialogue with you, and it's important in this relationship. A healthy relationship flourishes when communication is clear. So they want clear communication, and they want it regularly, and it's got to be a part of an everyday thing.
But okay, what went through my head was I can talk to you every day, but not communicate with you about what I really feel.
That's awesome.
Correct?
That's awesome. So what you just did is you described the distinction between talking and communicating. Most of us as human beings, we learn how to talk. Nobody teaches us how to communicate. Communicating is an art form. It's a specific way of using your words to convey to the other person how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, how you think. It's so in depth. Communication is just because you can have the ability to talk or you have the gift to gab doesn't mean you know how to communicate clearly or effectively. And I wish there were more classes for people to sign up so that they can learn how to communicate. And the reason why I know that is because a lot of times when I'm hearing people talk to me, I'll grab bits and pieces of what they're saying because they're all over the place. And then I'll say, are you trying to say this? And I'll go, and I'll repeat it back to them, and they go, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And I start laughing. I'm like, but you didn't say nothing like that.
Yeah.
You went all the way around this whole, the mulberry bush, but you didn't talk about the mulberry bush. So it tells me that people have to learn how to communicate and articulate exactly what they're feeling, why they're feeling it. And then there's a whole other art form of learning how to tee up a conversation to the person you're going to talk to. So, for example, if you're my brother and I have a disagreement with you and I want to share with you how frustrated I am, I'm not going to come to you and just start venting. I'm not going to just come to you and start the first word with, how dare you, or just start telling you how frustrated I am. Effective way of communication is I'm going to tee up with you how I want you to listen to me when I communicate what's on my heart. So it'll sound like this. Andrew, you're my brother. I love you more than anything in the world. We are partners for life. I'll take a bullet for you. So what I want you to hear when I'm communicating is my frustration. It's not about you. This is my stuff, my insecurities, the stories I'm making up. But I want to share it with you so that you're aware of it. Do I have permission to share that?
Yeah, I was like, yes, you got me right there. Even though it's an example, I'm like, yes. What do you got to tell me?
Now, by me teeing that up and preparing you to listen to me, I basically explained to you, like, when I share this, don't take this personal. And I did it in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to listen, and when you're listening, you're not listening from, oh my God, there's no triggers. You're not getting defensive. You're not reactive, because I just told you this is my stuff.
That's what I was about to say. Like, when you said, don't come out like, oh, I have this to tell you, because once you say that, I'm already defensive. Like, dude, no, it wasn't me. Like, I didn't do that.
Yeah, your walls went bing, 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 bing.
Yep,
you got five levels of walls came up, and you're reactive, and now you're already over with your arrows, ready to
fire back.
Yeah. So that's just one form of how to learn how to communicate effectively. 98% of the people that are listening to you after that, they're listening to you from a compassionate heart. They're not defensive. And husbands and wives do not know how to communicate like that.
And yeah, in my relationship, one of the biggest things that I caught myself doing, which I know a lot of people do it, is, how are you feeling? I'm fine. Like, I'm fine, or everything's good. Expand on that, or ask your partner to expand on that. It will help tremendously. I'm fine or I'm good. It leads nowhere.
Yeah. I from my observation, I feel like most men default to I'm good or I'm fine.
Everything's okay.
Yeah,
everything's cool.
Yeah, and I'm fine and I'm okay. Fine and okay are not feelings. Fine and okay is a way for you to let the other person know that they don't have to keep trying to go deeper, that they got it all under control. When we start learning how to communicate how we feel, like I feel secure, I feel confident, or I'm assured, I'm confident everything's going to turn out fine. Or, you know what, I'm feeling a little afraid, or I'm feeling a little insecure, or I'm feeling doubtful. Those are feelings. But 90% of humanity does not know how to speak like that. It's a foreign language. When someone says, how do you feel? Or even if you walk in and you go, how do you feel? How are you feeling? Or how are you doing today? Most of us don't even stop and go, that's a great question. Let me check in with myself to see how I am feeling.
Yeah, it's automatic response.
It's an automatic response that I'm okay and I'm fine, because our ego wants to always be in control and got everything dialed in and never let anybody know that I am secretly behind closed doors. I'm worried about not being able to pay the light bill tomorrow, or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we're not emotionally
completely
honest when it comes to our feelings, which is actually the next trait in moral integrity, which is number 2. It says honesty is another make or break trait. Don't give someone reasons to doubt you. Now, there's 2 types of honesty. The honesty here they're talking about is just be honest. This is just basic 101, means tell the truth. Just don't lie, right?
Okay.
So that's just kind of right out of any book of morals and principles. Just be honest. A lot of people haven't even mastered the ability of just being honest, which is telling the truth. Got it?
Got it.
Now, there's a whole other level of honesty, and I've actually wrote in a chapter in my book, The Inspirational Parent, and it's just on honesty. But it's not, the chapter's not about being honest, like telling the truth. My honesty in the book is more about being emotionally honest, which is what we just talked about. When somebody comes to you and is checking in with you, that you actually check in with yourself and go, how am I feeling? Identify and have the courage to identify that I am feeling afraid, and then have the courage to tell your partner, you know what, honey, I'm really afraid right now. Just the thought of people saying that is almost like a rare bird that you'll never find in any forest.
I would say if you say that to your partner the next time they ask you how you're doing, it doesn't have to be I'm afraid, but expand on the I'm okay or I'm fine.
Yeah.
With whatever feeling I'm comfortable right now, whatever it is, they will stop in their tracks, because they're the same automatic response that you give, the I'm fine, I'm okay. A lot of people are trained to hear that and just not even ask the question, how are you doing? And already know you're going to say, I'm fine or I'm okay.
Right.
But when you hit them with something else, they'll stop and be like, oh, okay. And then they'll remember that. And then you'll just expand from there. I believe you will.
Imagine how many men if they would start to just be honest what they're actually feeling, first be aware of checking in with themselves to even have the courage to acknowledge that they are afraid, but then having the courage to actually tell their wife or tell their girlfriend or whoever the significant other is, and say, I'm a little afraid, or I'm nervous. Our egos, guys, won't let us acknowledge that we're afraid or we're nervous or we don't have it under control. Or I'm doubtful, or I'm hesitant, or I'm doubting myself, or I'm beating myself up, or, it's like, I don't know why it's such a tremendous feat to overcome, which is battling the ego, to just be emotionally honest and tell your partner that. Because you know what? I believe that that's what women really want from us, is say, you know what, honey, I'm scared. I don't know what to do here. Or I don't even have the answer.
Yeah.
To be able to own up to that, I think is so huge.
To be honest, not the truth honest, but to be honest, how you're explaining it with your feelings.
To be honest with how you're feeling in this moment. Most of us don't even have the awareness to even check in, to even see or acknowledge that I am afraid or I am nervous. All right, we're going to come back and get back to this list. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call the Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
The American Cancer Society presents the Santa Cruz Valley Relay for Life starting at 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 18th and going all the way till 9 a.m. on Sunday, May 19th. It's taking place at Central Park, and it's an event dedicated to helping communities attack cancer. We will be there all weekend, so swing by the KHTS booth, say what up, and participate. Again, the American Cancer Society presents the Relay for Life all weekend long at Central Park. To get involved, to donate, or just for more information, go to scvrelay.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Cruz, and my wife and I own the local pub and grill. With 19 70-inch TVs, it's the best place in the valley to catch a game. We have a vast selection of beer, wine, and specialty cocktails to choose from, including our charity ale, where 10% of every pint we sell goes to Carousel Ranch. Our menu features classics with a flavorful twist. Come by for Taco Trivia Tuesdays at 7, Wines Day for bingo and karaoke starting at 8 p.m., and karaoke every Saturday at 9. Local Pub and Grill, right next to Bevmo on the Old Road. Support local, support community.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo! And who could forget 99 red baboons?
Or the African crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills! Hey, don't get too close.
And the hits keep on coming.
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard.
Ibex is back.
Harder, better, Fossa stronger.
And a new track from Kendrick Lieber.
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa.
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks. Experience 6 different African habitats, including our first ever aquatic enclosure with African penguins. Only at the San Diego Zoo.
Hometown, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show. Today we're talking about the 15 things women want from the men in their lives. And we started the show with me making a statement that I'm going to learn again. And the cool thing about talking about subjects like this, Andrew, is that the more that I talk about certain distinctions, I get more clear myself. So just me talking about this just is an affirmation to myself to go, yeah, Alex, you got to be more emotionally honest. You got to be willing to share those things. You got to be willing to be committed to having more dialogue and open communication and all those things. So it's cool to have these kinds of conversations. This is where it's like if we were musicians and we want to get better at that craft, we got to get into old school jam sessions.
The jam session
I just can't convince enough men in my community here in Santa Clarita to want to participate in deep, meaningful conversations like this where we learn about improving ourselves. It's just not a thing yet.
No. Yeah.
However, I will get calls from husbands that will call me going, my wife wants to leave me. I need some help? And I don't know why. It's always the intervention part where now you're willing to spend thousands of dollars to get help. But when it's preventative work, like let's wake up, guys, before we get there. Hey, let's start learning and developing and nurturing some emotional intelligence so that we don't get to that stage. Is just not a priority. What's priority is making money, going after, all those things, the status and power and all those stuff is really important to a lot of us, not just men, but women too.
Yeah, and no one's in the perfect relationship as it is right now. It's always can be better.
That's the beautiful part. If you can actually give yourself permission to go, there's room for improvement, not necessarily in the relationship, but improvement in me, because I am the relationship. Your relationship, if it's dysfunctional, it's not dysfunctional just because it's dysfunctional, like the relationship is separate from you. You forget you bring you to the relationship, and she brings her to the relationship. So now you have two dysfunctional people creating dysfunction in a relationship. But if you start dialing in and learning some things and fine-tuning on your end, inside of yourself, you're going to create some extraordinary things in relationships. All right, here's number 3. Number 3 is, let's go over a couple of the other ones. Number 1 was open communication, regularly, tactfully, it's essential, and then clear communication. Number 2 was being honest. So just don't tell lies, that one, as well as being emotionally honest, kind of sharing whatever you're going through. Women want to know that. They want to be a part of that process. And then number 3 is trust and trustworthiness. And this is kind of like it's a no-brainer, right? They want trust. They need to trust you. You got to be trustworthy. And to be trustworthy is having a great track record of always telling the truth, being honest, so that they can trust you. Then they deem you trustworthy, right? So trust and trustworthy allows relationships to just deepen. So that's number 3. Number 4 is taking responsibility for actions and behaviors. Long-term healthy relationships require a high level of maturity. Without it, disagreements and conflicts worsen as couples engage in the blame game. This is the one distinction that I teach couples and human beings just for personal power, is you got to start changing the belief system glasses and take out the victimhood perspective and replace it with the I am responsible for my communication. I'm responsible for my feelings. I'm responsible for the way that I interpret. And taking responsibility for my own actions and my own behaviors is what women say that they just want most from their men.
And I think that is huge on saying the blame game will take you guys and just separate, and you'll get tagged and stuck and, oh, she always does this and that. I'm like, okay, no, this is why because of you, I'm this way, or things like that. Like, no, you could just take responsibility for yourself. Basically.
Yeah. And it's funny because when I work with couples, let's say I'm working with the husband, for example, and I'll say on the beginning of the call, all right, you got 5 minutes to run your racket. You have 5 minutes to vent and be the ultimate victim and play the blame game all you want. I'm going to create that little vacuum for you to do that. And he'll be like, really? And I'm like, go for it. I can't believe that she this and she that, and if she would this, and he just gets to go off.
Yeah.
And then when the time's up, I go, all right, time's up. And he goes, now what? And I go, now we get to look at everything you just said from the responsible version. And he goes, huh? What do you mean the responsible version? Oh, no one has ever taught you how to take responsibility for the part that you played in it. See, we forget sometimes that we play a part in everything. You want to blame on her, there's a part you played in it. Everything from I've allowed you to do that, or I never spoke up and said, hey, it's not okay for you to treat me like that. Or, I mean, I can go down this whole road and just break down distinctions of where there's a part you played where you're not owning your part. We live in the illusion that she's doing it to me. And women want you to start owning, taking responsibility and having that emotional honesty and go, you know what, Alex? Yeah, there are times that I am stubborn. And I do project my anger and frustration out on her. So you know what, Samantha, I'm so sorry that I do that. I get to own that, and I get to be mindful of it, more aware of it. My new commitment is to make sure that I don't do that to you no more. And we just as human beings, we don't have the discipline to go there and call ourselves out on that. That's why sometimes as a coach, I can lovingly point that out to you to have you look at it and go, all right, I do that, right? Yeah, that's the starting point.
Yeah, and a lot of men exactly just, you laid the example out, don't do that, or have almost the victim kind of mode, I would say, where life happens to them and they have no choice but the actions that they had. But when you tell them, like, okay, after that 5 minutes, now what? They were like, oh, I never really thought about that, or took a moment to think how I could have changed or things could have been different.
And what's interesting, it says here, taking responsibility for actions and behaviors. And it says long-term healthy relationships require a high level of maturity. And, speaking as a man and my own experience, I'm going to say that from my experience of observing the world, just like you, and everyone has their opinions. From my opinion, I also believe that most men are immature. Because I am a man and I have my own experience. Immature meaning we stopped growing emotionally. That doesn't mean that we're not intelligent, because a lot of men have focused when they're 15, 16 years old. They get the concept of I got to be smart. And so they go after requiring knowledge, right? You go into business, I got to learn how to be masterful in my business, so I acquire knowledge. But very few of us, when we're past 13 or 15 or 18 years old, go, no, I want to be wise. I want to develop personally, internally, emotionally. I want to develop so that I can mature. A lot of our youth today, it's a lost art. They're not maturing. They're not becoming wise. There is no wisdom. They're not on a path to creating wisdom. They're after information. They're acquiring more IQ, not EQ. And so,
what's that?
IQ. EQ is emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So there's more information that we store in our brain, and then there's the emotional development that I've actually been doing. What's funny is that sometimes in workshops and trainings, we'll have people will talk about a distinction like, Alex, I know that already, or I've read that somewhere, and I go, but you knowing it and you reading it somewhere and having the information in your head's not good enough, buddy, because your wife's ready to leave you. So it doesn't matter if you know it. Knowing's not enough. You have to know it, and then you have to practice it, and then you have to put it into action. You can know all day long that being honest is the key to having people trust you, but yet you actually don't implement or practice honesty anywhere in your life.
Yeah, but actually doing it,
and you're wondering why no one trusts you and no one wants to be on any of your teams, right? All right, the next section is traits of relational sensitivity. Number one is, it says women need men to show kindness, patience, understanding, empathy, and compassion. Now, I love this part because all of these are not things that you do.
And what do you mean?
Patience, understanding, empathy, and compassion aren't things that you do. They're ways of being.
Okay.
You have to practice these as in your beingness. Like, patient is you have to be patient. You don't do patience. Being patient is a practice. Like if you're going to practice baseball and you're going to practice your hitting, you got to go and practice every day for an hour a day swinging. There's some fundamentals you got to practice. And then in the game time when you're hitting home runs, everyone's like, oh, my God, he's so talented. He wasn't, when it started off, he wasn't no more talented than you are. He just practiced it more. He put more mindful effort into the practice of swinging that bat and making contact and the eye contact and all that. Well, patience is a way of being that you have to practice more often and more moments, meaning like being here now, not needing the result my way and I'm needing it right now and letting it unfold when it does. Like it's an art form.
And I think a lot of the young men growing up today have none.
So patience, understanding is an art form. It's a way of being. Understanding is putting yourself in the shoes of the other person from their perspective, not yours. This is funny because a lot of times my wife, through the years, she would say things like, I don't understand you. And I'll say, yeah, because you're not trying to understand me. You're trying to figure me out. And there's a distinction between trying to figure out why they think like that instead of going, you know what, now looking from knowing you and the way that you're wired and the way that you see things, I get why you do that. That's understanding. But sometimes as women, we try to figure you out rather than understanding. And same thing with men. Like we don't understand why she does what she does. And so instead of going, you know what, maybe she does that because that's all she knows. Maybe she does that because of her childhood and how she was raised. Maybe she does that because she never learned certain things or she's afraid, or that's understanding. But that takes an ability and a practice that you have to go within, and you got to go a little deeper.
Yeah, that's having the patience in work to do that.
Well, that number one was, patience, right? Patience. So kindness, patience, understanding, empathy, and compassion. I feel like if we, as men, practice being more compassionate for our partners, right? Our girlfriends, our spouses, we're more compassionate. We would take things less personal. So like if our wife, is frustrated with us and says something, and I can come from a compassionate place and go, okay, that wasn't about me. She's just frustrated about something. Or maybe she had a bad day at work. But if you're not coming from a compassionate place, it's very easy to hear that I'm bad and wrong, that you're blaming me, and then I get defensive, and then and then
that just spirals.
Yeah, and before you know it, you're both like this. So compassion is a beautiful art form that if you practice that and become more compassionate, you're more freed up to be in relationships where you get tagged less, you get defensive less, because you're coming from a compassionate place, not coming from a place of your own insecurities and real easy to just get tagged and then you got to defend yourself.
And is this an example of compassion? Say she did have a hard day at work, something happened, but is it also not doing anything, just noticing that and letting her just either vent, and then just either go lay in the room, take a nap, whatever it is, and not kind of fix
that's phase one. That's phase one. Phase two is after that you come in and go, hey honey, sounds like you had a hard day. Is there anything I can support you with? Do you want me to start dinner? Or so there's different levels to it. So number one is don't take anything personal. You can, since you're the meaning maker to your stories anyways, instead of making up a story that she's out to get you, make up a story she had a long day, or maybe there's something that's bothering her, but make it about something that she's dealing with. You don't have to take it personal, and that all comes from the ability of operating from being compassionate first. If you can't be compassionate, you just go in an automatic pilot. You get triggered. You're defensive. Now you're both arguing at each other. Sometimes you at the end of the night, you're like, I don't even know what started the argument.
Yeah, like why are you fighting? Yeah, that happens a lot.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but also on the men's side, like if you did have a hard day at work, once you get home, kind of leave it at work. Don't bring it home, or if something happens, don't get triggered and push that off on your partner.
Bro, that's a whole other show. Other show, which I would love to talk about, because there's some things that you can do that helps you shift out of work mode, so that when you're walking into your home, you're freed up to be present, loving, compassionate, understanding, so that your kids get that guy, your wife gets that guy. But it's a whole different kind of a show. But I love the topic. Yeah. Number two is friendship. Friendship between men and women is also desired. Being a friend to your partner means treating her in the patient and accepting manner in which you treat your close friends or your clients. a lot of times, sometimes, as men, we treat our clients and our friends with that patient accepting state, right? But as soon as we get home, all of a sudden the patient goes out the window, the accepting and tolerance goes out the window, and then we're just, we got a short fuse when it comes to now hearing your wife wanting to vent and get something out and share with you. You interpret it as you're nagging me, right? That could be very easily perceived because you left the patience and the acceptance in the car in your trunk before you walked in the house.
Yeah. That the whole friendship, it doesn't baffle me. It baffles me how people don't see it that way. In regards to, you tell your best friend all your secrets and everything. Your best girlfriend or your best guy friend. And so when people come up to me and say all this, have all these grievances and everything like that, I'm like, oh, well, did you tell your partner that? They're like, no. I'm like, well, then why not? Like, you just told me we're friends. Why don't you just tell that exact thing and how you're feeling to your partner? And then they kind of have this look on their face like, I would never do that. Like, why not?
Yeah,
you're supposed to be friends.
Yeah, and I think that as men, we're not taught that when you decide to marry somebody or date someone, that the main objective is to become friends with them, is to develop a companionship and a friendship where you're on the same team, that you keep remembering that you're on the same team. And when you don't mindfully are taught that or focus on creating that, then you slowly just attract to each other in a physical way, in a passionate way, and then before you know it, you're just dating them now, and unconsciously you're with somebody but without a specific intention. And then then slowly by default you make up the story that they're out to get you and that they're not on your team. So again, this goes from conscious being in a relationship consciously or unconsciously. When you're unconsciously, you don't know any different. You're just reactive. And so you're in that relationship like that. But being a friend and creating friendship takes a conscious, intentional commitment to actually create that and work on that. Number 3 is emotional maturity. They're saying emotional maturity is essential. It's okay to have some childish fun when it's appropriate, but it's important for women and men to behave like grown-ups when it's time to do so. Being aware that brute strength does not equal intelligence. It's also helpful in maintaining healthy communication and connection. Emotional maturity is a must for men, unless unconscious women and unconscious men are in relationships and they actually stay unconscious. You missed that one, right? If your man is emotionally immature and he's unconscious and you're the woman and you're unconscious, you don't know the difference. So you just tolerate him being emotionally immature.
Oh, so you're kind of saying, oh, he's just that way.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is, like, let's say I have a client that's coming to me, and the wife comes to me and goes, I want to work on my marriage. I want to help my husband grow and develop. And then I'll tell them the good news and bad news. The good news is, you're starting to wake up and realize that there's room for growth for both of you in this relationship. But that awakening, if you stay in that awakening, you become more conscious. You're going to go down that path, and then you're going to have to enroll your husband to choose his own path too. If not, you both have to remain unconscious, almost like oblivious to it, right? So if you're both unconscious and unaware, then him being emotionally mature, it's not. You've learned to accept it. It's just par for the course.
Yeah, kind of what it is.
Yeah, you don't know any difference. It's not until you awaken, or you see your girlfriends or your other friends, their husbands, and you go, wait a minute. Then you start comparing and go, how come
can't be like
my
that?
guy's not, compassionate and understanding and doing those things. So when you start comparing, and then when you compare, your eyes open and you have this new awakening. But if you stay unconscious, both of you, then he doesn't have to mature at all. He can just stay the way he is, right. And you learn how to love and accept him exactly the way he is. So, but women are basically saying we want our man to be emotionally mature. I thought what was interesting here is where it says connection. And I didn't see connection on this list anywhere. But connection is important. The ability to connect with each other is important in relationships. And I believe that most women, whether they're conscious of it or not, they yearn for a connection. Not necessarily a physical connection.
I was just saying, what connection? Because I think there's a couple levels or a couple different definitions of connection.
Yeah, so let's talk about emotional connection. Emotional connection is about being vulnerable and allowing my wall to come in so that you can see inside of what's behind the curtain. So if I'm vulnerable and I'm with my wife, I'm going to bring my wall down and I'm going to let my wife see behind the curtain, and she's going to recognize that there's some pain and some sadness behind the curtain. And if I am comfortable and confident enough and assured in myself, I can feel that sadness and that pain and then be able to express it so that that energy goes and travels towards her and it hits her in her soul. And then now she's compassionate for me because I'm feeling like that. That's a connection. But if you're a man and don't realize you have walls up, your energy is not coming past the wall. So how is she going to connect with you? This is how women say, I feel really distant from you. Well, yeah, you feel distant from him because he doesn't bring his wall down and be vulnerable and allow himself to feel anything and cause that feeling and that energy to be released so that you feel it too. And when you feel it and they feel it, now I feel connected to you.
Yeah, and a big word that just I grabbed onto was being vulnerable, vulnerability. And that pretty much, if you're vulnerable, all that's just going to come in
organically.
Yeah.
It's if you're vulnerable and bring the wall down, all your energy now is just it's all escaping the room.
Yeah, the floodgates were just open.
And now she can feel your pain. Now she can feel your sadness. Now she can feel when you're afraid. And now she's compassionate for you. She feels connected. She feels like you guys are one. And that's what women are looking for. And men, if we're not learning how to consciously bring those walls down, we are going for a ride. You better hope your wife or your girlfriend doesn't have an awakening. Have her stay away from yogas, any kind of emotional intelligence where she awakens. Because if she awakens, she's going to start to go, you know what? All of a sudden now I can see what's been missing in my relationship for such a long time. We got to take another break. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, SCV.
Hey guys, this is Cardinellis, host of the new show Problem Solver Politics, an independent political talk show that keeps you up to date and in the know on the latest political happenings both nationally and here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Now, this isn't your usual partisan political talk show. At Problem Solver Politics, we don't rant, we don't spew talking points. We have experts from all avenues talk about specific problems and how to solve them. And if your party is in the wrong, we will tell it to your face on air every Sunday at 7 p.m.
The American Cancer Society presents the Santa Clarita Valley Relay for Life starting at 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 18th and going all the way till 9 a.m. on Sunday, May 19th. It's taking place at Central Park, and it's an event dedicated to helping communities attack cancer. We will be there all weekend, so swing by the KHTS booth, say what up, and participate. Again, the American Cancer Society presents the Relay for Life all weekend long at Central Park. To get involved, to donate, or just for more information, go to scvrelay.org.
This is Greg from Consumers Furniture Gallery. For the past 41 years, we pride ourselves on offering quality name brand furniture at unbeatable prices. We carry a huge selection of dining and bedroom furniture in the latest styles and designs. We also have the largest selection of sofas and sectionals in the Santa Clarita Valley. You can choose your style, fabrics, leathers, and colors, or have one of our experts design it for you. Our mattress gallery features over 50 beds featuring Diamond and Serta. Consumers Furniture is located in the Center Point Shopping Center below Sam's Club and Walmart.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. I'm hanging out with Andrew Delgado, my board op and producer of the show. Today we've been talking about the 15 things that women want from their men in their lives. I felt like we were pretty candid, kind of calling ourselves out, including myself. Anything I said today is not excluding me. I'm not perfect. These are things that I have learned and am continuing to learn. There's still a lot of things I haven't learned. That's why having these discussions is important, because the more I talk about it, the more clarity I get, and I get to keep practicing these things. These aren't just because you know them or an expert at something doesn't mean that you are perfect in that area. There's a huge learning curve for me, and I get excited to learn these because I want to be effective in my relationships, not just with my family, because that's really important to me, but also learn how to be effective in relationships with everyone else, outside of my inner circle as well. So we went through a bunch of different distinctions that from this article that women are saying this is what we want from our men. So let's get back to the last two because we only have a few minutes to go through this. The next one is being supportive. Women say being supportive to the woman in your life can do a world of good. Supporting your partner is a primary role. Whether your partner or a friend needs emotional or practical support, be there to assist in small and or big ways, whether it's taking time to listen or more active enrollment in a major decision, child rearing, finances, etc. Make your presence a positive and supportive role. It's funny because as I was reading this, it says whether it's making time to listen. And it reminds me, last night I got home late and I was like sat down on the couch, I opened up my laptop, and I was trying to get to something that I need to do for today. And my wife was there, and she's like, and she just started going, and I was like, closed my laptop. I turned my body towards her, and I just focused on her, because in that moment, thank God that I was aware and conscious and present enough to know that the little voice, my inner voice, was saying, Alex, she needs you right now. Listen. This is one of those moments that you don't want her to collect evidence or create a story that, see, one more time, he never listens to me or he's not there for me. Right. So being supportive is you got to be mindful and present. Even your kids, when they come to you, Dad, not right now, Dad. When they do that, your whole world should stop. I don't care if you're paying a bill, a ticket, a client needs you, you stop and say, let me get back to you, because you don't want your son to go, see, my dad's never there for me.
Yep. And then that just building blocks, and it keeps going where I'm never going to talk to my dad.
Creates again. He or she creates one self-limiting belief about dad, and then looks for evidence every time after that to prove that it's true, that dad doesn't care about me and dad doesn't listen.
It's so ironic because then later in life you're like, why do my kids not talk to me?
Right?
That's the reason.
Exactly. Do we have time for another one, or are we done?
We're pretty much done.
Oh, man, we're done. I still had another 6 or 7. No,
it always happens.
We always happens
like
this.
Through the list.
I tell you what, we're here every Friday. We're live Friday at noon. Come check us out. Tune in. Thanks for all the people that have been posting and commenting on Facebook. We appreciate you. Stay tuned for the next Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.